Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Today I'm at Oak Creek with, you guys know this guy, not a stranger on this channel, but recently a little bit, Monte Scheinblum, who teaches lessons here, and you can also find him at montescheinblum.com and his own YouTube channel, which is
Hit It Long or Monte Scheinblum, whatever.
Right, youtube.com/HitItLong. Monte, today the main thing I wanted to talk to you about was your knee. So the last we saw you, or not the last, but one of the last things we saw on the channel was you were ramping up, getting better and better in tournaments.
Yeah.
So you had taken, for people who may not know Monte is a world long drive champion from 1992, then was a touring professional for a long time, and then only about 5 years ago you started teaching lessons. Mm-hmm. And then now you kind of got the bug again. Your swing was getting really good.
Yeah, and I was approaching 50. I'm going to be 50 in 2 months.
Yep.
So
let me get my, put it to the test a little bit before the Champions Tour.
Yeah, and the Long Beach Open, which you filmed, was really my first. I had played a few events here and there, but that was my first tournament back in tournament mode as a professional.
Right.
And the first day I was pretty miserable and put up a pretty ugly score. Was a little bit better the second day.
Yeah, but 7 birdies I think in the second day.
Yeah, that was July. Mm-hmm. And the first stage of Q School for the Champions Tour was in November. Uh-huh. And I progressively got better and better. And about 10 days before the first stage of the tour qualifying, I won a Pepsi Tour event by 7 shots.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So we'll go through the stages.
Yeah.
Because I kind of want to know, because people know your swing a lot on this channel, and they know the things that you work on. So when you were, because you told me that was at Saboba, that event?
Yes.
So that event at Saboba, you were striking it really well, ball striking wise.
I mean, the irony is I'd become a really good putter with that directive forces putter, and I've been putting well all year.
Yeah.
And really not hitting it that well because I was trying to tweak here, tweak there. Uh-huh. But that tournament at Saboba just before the first stage of the tour qualifying, it's pretty much as good as I've ever hit it in a professional tournament.
Yeah.
I mean,
at any age.
At any age. I mean, in 36 holes, I probably didn't miss a green by more than a pace. Mm-hmm. So like if you made all of the greens one pace bigger, I'd have hit 36 out of 36. Yep. I probably in the 2 days I probably missed 5 or 6, maybe 7 greens, but it was all like I could putt from there.
Yeah, and it wasn't in a dome either. The weather was terrible.
Yeah, the scores were really, really high because the wind blew about 30 miles an hour, 25 to 30 miles an hour gusts. And there were some 3 and 4 club changes into the wind.
Yeah.
180 is my normal 180, 185 is my normal 7-iron distance, and on one hole I hit a 7-iron from 135 and was well short of the pin. Yeah. So and the conditions were really tough, and that made putting tough as well.
Yeah.
But I drove it really well. Hit a lot of greens, controlled my ball flight, controlled my spin. And essentially, I could have been significantly lower if actually it wasn't even the putting; it was my green reading was poor.
Okay.
Was poor that week.
So in that event at Saboba, which was a lead up to the pre-qualifying for, in that event at Saboba, you won by 7 shots.
Yes.
And so just for posterity, and just so maybe we can look back on this in the future, tell us before your injury and everything. Tell us kind of what was your feel that week. Do you remember?
My big problem is as I've been kind of regaining my ability to play good golf again.
Tournament form. Yeah.
Exactly. I'd get narrow. My first move down, I get super, super narrow.
Yep.
With a wedge, I'm good enough. Even if I'm narrow, I'm going to be a little steep, maybe spin it a little bit too much. But there's not going to be too much of a directional problem.
Because that narrowness, it makes you come down on it.
Down on it, okay. As I get up to like 4, 5, 6 iron, I'm not as good as I should be, but still not egregious. Mm-hmm. And when I'm hitting 2 iron off of a tee, like to lay up in the fairway, not the worst thing in the world. Yeah. But with driver, it's real bad. If I only swung at 110 miles an hour, I'd be able to kind of get away with it. Uh-huh. But at 125, it's Well, you know, all they got to do is watch the first round at the Long Beach Open when with 2-iron and driver, I was both directional miss. And that's what it is. When I get like this, it's a two-way miss.
Yeah, most of the people watching the internet are doing searches for desperately trying to get more and more of that.
Yeah,
and that's just a killer for you. Yeah.
Well, it's a killer for anybody.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, when people, you know, a lot of people have this move going and they want to get rid of it and they're told to go wide to narrow. That's the wrong way to fix it. You're just replacing one problem with another.
So that was your problem leading up to it. So the tournament week, though, how did you feel?
Oh, I was killing driver.
Okay.
See, the thing is like
you felt wider.
Oh, I was nice and wide, and it's really funny. My club head speed isn't affected. I still swing 120 to 125, but when I come in narrow and steep, then I kind of stall and raise the handle to shallow it out.
The face could go anywhere.
And not only does the face go anywhere, I don't hit it in the middle of the club face.
Okay.
And I literally, from one day to the next, I lose 30, 40 yards.
Oh, okay.
So somebody will play golf with me and go, you know, I expected you to hit it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And then they'll play with me the next day and they're like, oh, okay, this is about what I expected.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So when I won that tournament, I mean, my driving distance for those 2 days was, you know, probably 330 plus.
Yeah.
I was killing it.
Yeah.
And
it's a narrow course, isn't it? From what I've seen on TV, it looks like it.
You know, the fairways are narrow, but it's Saboba's a really, really good golf course for me because the fairways are narrow, which makes me focus on hitting it into a small area. But on every tee shot, you can bail in one direction.
Oh, okay, right.
So if you give me a golf course where the fairways are narrow and makes it difficult for everybody else, but I can bail my ugly shot that I hit once or twice a day in one direction, then all of a sudden, against the field, the course is much easier for me.
So in Saboba, you just had confidence to hit it as hard as you wanted, and you just never felt like you were getting crowded and had to save it. You felt in control the whole entire swing.
Right.
Then after that tournament, there was...
Literally the next day.
Oh, the next day.
The next day.
The next day, there was the basically first stage for the Champions Tour.
No. The next day was when I heard my name.
Right. So then that was a warm-up.
About 10 days later.
For the first stage of Champions Tour Q School.
Yes.
And just to let you guys know, Champions Tour is the hardest tour in the world to get on. They go through maybe 1,000 guys to get 3. 5. Yeah. And so... the next day after you win by 7 shots, what happens with your knee?
Well, I'm sure there was some damage already, but I was the assistant coach for my 8-year-old son's soccer team, and I was out there running around with the boys and kicking the ball around with them.
Yeah.
Didn't feel anything snapped, didn't feel anything hurt. Woke up the next morning, and it hurt, and it was swollen.
It was big. Yeah.
Oh, it was bad. And, you know, I probably only had 30 degrees range of motion, 40 degrees range of motion bend, and I'm like, oops, you know, this isn't good.
Yeah.
And you know, at the first stage, even though I played fairly well and made it, it wasn't quite as good as it was before I heard it.
Now, it was just the first stage, you made it, even though you were in pain. It was just your swing was so good it wouldn't be denied.
It hadn't quite started to deteriorate yet. I didn't drive the ball quite as well, but I hit the iron. I wedged it especially well. I mean, I think I had almost a 50% birdie conversion rate when I had some sort of wedge in my hand. You know, not just 50, 60 yards. So from like 50 yards to maybe 130, I had almost a 50%
of getting up and down.
Yeah.
That's
so
great.
I was wedging it really, really well, and that's why I made it. Because I drove it in play, but not very well. Because once the knee stopped working, I started hitting the driver crooked.
So then after you, Monte, along with some other names that you guys would know, we're in kind of a dangerous spot here. Monte with some other names you guys would know from the Champions Tour, made the cut there to move on to Orlando to final stage of Champions Tour Q School.
Yeah.
And that is how much time passes between those two things.
Here was the time passage. Here was the sequence of events. The 4 days where I made it through, I was the right knee was hurting so much that I was taking 12 to 16 Advil a day just to keep the swelling down.
Now this is not playing golf. This is just in your life. You were taking that much.
Yeah. No.
Wow.
I mean, like before I went to the course in the morning, I took 4 or 5.
Wow.
And during the round, I took 4 or 5, and then
Okay.
take 4 or 5 at the end of the day. And I was icing my knee just to keep the swelling from getting too out of hand. So my plan was, okay, I tweaked my knee, big deal.
Yeah.
I'll rest. It ended up, the first stage ended on a Friday. And I said, okay, I'll rest Saturday and Sunday and it'll feel a little bit better. Monday morning, it was bad.
Yeah.
So I went to see the guy that I go to for injuries. And
Monday morning is the morning of the event?
no, this is 2 days after the first stage is
Oh,
over.
okay, got you.
And he goes, yeah, this is probably not good. And I said, well, do whatever you have to. I've got finals of Q school
Right.
in a week.
Yeah,
in 8
yeah,
days.
just get me upright and get me
Right.
going. Just checking,
so
guys,
he
and make sure
said-
we're still, yeah.
He goes, okay, you need to ice this like 3 times a day, and we're going to give you a cortisone shot to take the inflammation down. And he goes, and you can't really hit balls for 4 or 5 days. So I'm like, wait a second. I've already taken 2 days off. It starts in 8 days. You mean I got to take 4 or 5 more days off,
Yeah.
plus a travel day to get down to Florida?
Yeah.
So I didn't have much time. That wouldn't have mattered.
Yep.
I was swinging at it so well that, if this wasn't a problem, I mean, saying I would have made the top 5 is ridiculous, but I would have fared, I would have been competitive.
Yep. Yeah, who knows what would
This
happen.
this really gave me a hard time.
So then at Disneyland, right?
Yeah, at the Disney course, the Magnolia course.
At the Magnolia course in Disney World, sorry, I'm from California, so I always
Yeah.
say Disneyland. So at Disney World, they had the final stage of Q School. You go in and a bunch of famous names are in the field.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think out of the field of 74 guys, like 65 of them are former tour players.
I think maybe some major champions even.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I played with Paul McGinley, who struggled just as badly as I did. 3-time Ryder Cup member and Ryder Cup captain.
Yeah.
So some quality players.
But when you look at your scorecard, as we were all following you, when you look at your scorecard, if we could like drop a third of the holes out,
Not even that many.
no, it would have
If
been
you-
pretty good.
If you can drop out, I started on 10 every single day, and if you can get rid of 17, 18, 1, and 2.
Yeah, I saw that around that corner. Yeah.
Those 4 holes, you take those 4 out, I make the top 30, and I'm threatening the top 10.
Right.
So
So what was the miss there that the knee really affected?
okay, here's where those holes gave me problems. My normal miss when I'm healthy, so to speak, and this is all this other stuff, guys play with injuries. I could play with the injury. That wasn't the problem.
Yeah.
What really, saying the injury, the knee hurt, big deal. I made it through the first stage with the knee hurting. That wasn't the issue. Here was the issue, is for 30 years, ever since I took up the game, I don't hit hooks.
Yeah.
I hit an occasional one when I'm struggling with my swing, but my miss is over there.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I show up to Florida and my knee won't bend past here, and then it would straighten, which made my arms roll.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, every 5th swing was a hook.
Okay, so I'll demonstrate. So when you're here, naturally you would want to be able to go like that.
Correct.
But you'd be here and something in your body would put a giant red light up and make it go
Correct.
straight. Like,
Correct.
that's wrong.
And if this wasn't timed correctly, the ball went that way. And you know what? To be transparent here, I was the only difference between first stage and second stage. I can't use the knee as the total excuse,
Yeah.
because it hurt just as much at the first stage. But the course more suited my eye and my ability to manage what was going on.
Yeah, like you said, at Saboba, it had a bailout area and you could kind of manufacture a miss to get into that spot.
Right. Whereas at Disney, pretty much of the 14 driving holes, there's water on both sides of like 10 of them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, am I going to have my normal miss and push it, or is my knee going to lock out and am I going to hook it? And I was standing on every tee trying to manufacture a miss that would kind of go out there somewhere.
Yeah, and whether you went down to 2-iron didn't really matter. It was still
didn't matter.
snapping or blocking.
I still hitting the 2-iron just as bad. But, from 5-iron on down, wedges, chipping, putting, I was fine. Even McGinley said to me, he goes, you know, Monte, I know you're having a bad week, but you hit the ball farther than any 50-year-old man I've ever seen. And he goes, I think you were 8 for 8 on sand saves this week.
Yep.
So, you know.
There's a silver lining, yeah.
Off the tee,
yeah.
I was a tour level golfer from 5 iron on down,
yep.
and I was a 15 handicap off the
right.
tee. It was
yeah.
so bad.
Yeah.
It was, and again, the knee was only part of it. If you would have put me
yeah.
on a course that I was more comfortable on,
yeah.
So it's like if I get one or the other. If you give me the bad knee on a course where I'm comfortable, yep. I would have been able to manage it.
Right.
If you put me on a course that I didn't like and that didn't favor my game, and my knee was okay, I'd have been able to manage it. But having to do both was just,
yep.
you know, 6 months of tour, or not even 3 months of tour preparation.
Yep.
You know, I wasn't prepared mentally to overcome the obstacles.
Well, the good thing about this whole story that I think is that you did that at 49 years old.
Yeah.
And your effective window to be on the Champions Tour goes to about 57.
Yeah.
So
you know what? For me, I think it's a little bit, maybe a year or two longer than that. Because here's why. Mm-hmm. Here's why. Is as players get older, the reason why their games and their scores deteriorate, aside from injuries.
Yeah, of course.
But, you know, injuries aside, mm-hmm. the reason why their scores
keeps them from being competitive into their older years.
Is they don't hit the ball far enough anymore.
Right.
And they get nervy on the short putts.
Yeah.
Well, the two big strengths in my game is I hit it farther than everybody, and, you know, as was seen in the 2 videos of the Long Beach Open, once I get inside of 6 feet, it's almost a gimme.
Yeah, if the greens are decent. Yeah.
Right. So you know, even when my distance starts to deteriorate as I get closer and closer to 60, and even as, you know, I get a little bit more jittery, those two parts of the game that generally cause the people problems are not going to be as big of a detriment to me. So I feel like my window's even a little bit bigger.
We like that.
Right now, it's 2 things. It's really 2 things. I have to get myself physically healthy, which...
Yeah, you're unable to exercise now with your knee.
And I've put on about 10 or 12 pounds since the knee injury. And I need to get in better physical shape, and I need to have a more, I don't know what the right was, seasoned mental approach. You know, I haven't been a real professional golfer in 15 years.
Like treating it like a job every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Understanding what effort, how much practice I have to put in, a better mental approach on the golf course. I mean, I essentially only prepared for this tournament for 3 months. And that was after not being a tournament player for 10 years.
And like you said to me a year ago, more playing holes of golf.
Right.
Not range time or teaching lessons, but actual playing.
If I would have been more mentally prepared to be in that situation and manufacture, you know, you need to learn how to manufacture a score on your bad days. I would have been able to overcome my dislike of the golf course and the pain in my knee. But from lack of experience, I'm like, well, you know, it was like I didn't know what to do. You know, it's like I could have overcome it. I just didn't have enough experience to do it.
We're in 2017 now. You'll be 50 coming up when? And what's your plan?
I'll be 50 in the middle of May. I'm about 6 weeks post-op now. And the doctor said, you know, if you were a non-Neanderthal 50-year-old man and swung at 105 or 110 miles an hour, you'd be good to go in about 8 or 10 weeks. But because of the pressure you're going to put on the knee, swinging at 125 miles an hour, he goes, we're probably looking at more like 12 or 16 weeks before you're 100%. So as soon as he gives me the go-ahead, I've already started to hit a few putts.
You're how many weeks removed from surgery now? 6.
6.
Okay. Still have a limp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been going to physical therapy.
That's great.
As soon as he gives me the go-ahead, I'm going to start working on some short game. And my goal is to, as soon as I get the go-ahead for short game and for light, you know, treadmill work, walking on the treadmill, I want to peel off about 15 or 20 pounds, more if I can, and and try to really get my short game, you know, even better than it was.
Because you'll not really be able to do drivers and 2-irons and
No.
stuff, but we can.
You know, going into Q school, my short game was probably a 7 or an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get it maybe to a 9, 9.5, you know, just through excess practice. And then when I'm physically ready, I mean, as soon as I'm physically ready, I'm going to, you know, throw myself in the deep end.
With young kids, Golden State and
whatever's available.
any kind of competition.
And then as soon as I turn 50, you know, I can start doing a few of the Monday qualifiers for the Champions Tour.
And you can try to qualify for U.S. Senior Open.
That's going to be my knee. That's in May.
That's in May. Oh, forget it.
The qualifying's in May, so I won't be ready yet.
And you would have just been 50. That would have been good timing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Monte. Let's talk about now. Let's talk about your game before your knee was hurt, and then let's talk about like the best senior players. So like Bernhard Langer and some of even Tom Lehman and some of those guys. What's the difference between Monte Scheinblum and those guys as far as like what you would like to be able to do to get?
You know, this is going to be a bold statement, and a lot of people are going to hear me say this and go, listen to this idiot. From a skill set point of view, I am equal to or greater than those guys.
Okay.
I hit it farther, I wedge it just as well, I make putts, I get it up and down. From an ability to play 3 rounds of golf in a tournament situation, from a scoring perspective, I am far inferior. More, 3 times more inferior than I am superior in the skill set.
So we're talking about like Bernhard Langer, who's the gold standard of senior tour players.
On a scale of 1 to 100.
His ability to not have his best swing and still make a score.
His ability is 100 and mine is a 3, you know.
Okay. Right. Even though you can hit it past him and maybe hit your wedges closer and other things like that.
He knows how to play golf, and he's been doing it forever, and he's a major champion. I never achieved that level when I was younger, and I've only been at it again for, you know, so the sum of the parts is a completely, different thing. And
so what are the type of things you can do
I need to play
to develop that?
I need to play.
Play and play competitively.
Play competitively, absolutely. I mean, I only played about 10 tournament rounds leading up to the Q school. You know, I need to play. And, you know, I'm not going to be a guy like Bernhard Langer ever. And I never would have been, even if I would have made it when I was younger, who's going to go out and play 20 tournaments and have 15 top 10 finishes.
Right. Yeah.
But I do, in fact, have the ability that if I can get into 10 or 12 tournaments, I'm going to go out and just throw 8 million birdies at the field one of those weeks. I absolutely have the ability to win on that tour. I do not have the ability to have 15 top 10 finishes on a 20. You know,
Charles Schwab champion.
No way. No. I mean, I'm being realistic here, but I have the ability to go out for 3 days on any golf course of any difficulty and shoot 15 under par. And, you know, and because of the distance advantage and the ability to make short putts, you know, I have the ability to do that once or twice a year.
It does have to be tempting for you because you look at a scorecard from a Champions Tour event, even something like I played at Kiawah Island where they had the senior PGA, and they showed me the scorecard from there. And as a player of your length, you look at it and you see like 6,600 or 6,700 yards. You see 365-yard par 4s and things like that. And you think, let's just get healthy, let's get excited, and this can happen.
Here's where I'm different. See, you know, 20 years ago, I failed to make the tour. But I showed some signs of ability, had a few top, you know, almost won a web.com event.
Final stages.
You know, showed that I had some ability. I was a terrible wedge player. I didn't take advantage of my length off the tee because I was not, that was the biggest weakness in my game.
What's the point of hitting it so far if you're not?
You know, whereas the difference now is that is one of the best parts. I've turned myself into a very, very good wedge player, a very good wedge player. And so the days where I'm driving the ball in play, it's just, you know, one birdie after another. You know, so that is where what may seem like unrealistic expectations, because Monte, you never made the tour, and these guys have been winning tour events up until the age of turning 50. Phil Mickelson's going to be turning 50. What chance do you have? And the chance is I'm a better putter and a better wedge player.
Yep.
So the irony is the biggest weakness in my game is erratic with the driver.
Yep.
From getting narrow.
Yeah. So you guys can check out Monte's stuff on youtube.com/hitilong, and we'll be following his journey as he continues his path to health and everything. Hopefully we can follow you again at Long Beach Open.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, thanks for watching, everybody.